The more I stayed behind the walls, the demons want to play. Because I had really lost my mind. Like, I really lost my mind. And I was riding around looking for people, like looking for him rather. Gun in my lap, drinking and driving.
Welcome back to another episode of the Larae Way. In this week's episode, I will be speaking to Marcell, who's the wonderful author of W.A.R, which stands for Women Against Rape. So we are getting into some deep topics. Make sure you stay tuned and to follow us on all social media at the Larae Way.
When I woke up that morning, I was very ill. I had surgery and then I had the flu and everything, and I wasn't getting any better. I tried to reach out to some people to go to the store for me because I was too weak to go. No one responded. I had taken medication, put on like NyQuil and stuff, and put on double clothing, jogging suits, and I ventured off to the store. Just from walking to the store, I felt like I was gonna die walking. I was so sick and I was staggering, and someone seen that. This person pulled over and asked me did I need a ride. And I clearly heard God say, do not get in that car. But I thought it was just me. I got in the car and my life has been changed since. I was followed into both stores that I went into. Someone I didn't know then held me captive in his car, took me to a local cemetery and proceeded to do foul things. After that, I jumped out of the car and took off running to a local store, had them lock the doors, and from there called the police. Police came, they took my statement, they found him, but they let him go. I went to the YWCA to get everything done, all the testing that I did needed to prove my case, because I was pressing charges, and that night was long. That night was terrible. Quite a few women had got raped that night. It was a full moon, and the YWCA was getting a lot of phone calls. The basket of clothing that they have you take your clothes and put into, it was overflowing. My case came up. We went to court. I testified. After months and months of waiting, he was finally sentenced. I've just been trying to put my life back together again since 2016.
Thank you, Marcell, so much for coming and sharing your story on the Larae Way.
Thank
I feel
you.
honored for this to be your first public appearance as an author with this amazing book that you have. So you already gave us kind of a little bit of a rundown, and if you want more information on her story, go buy her book. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book and what, inspired you to write that down?
I was in a mental hospital. With everything that went on, I was in a mental hospital, and I was so frustrated and mad. And I had a girlfriend of mine told me, like, you should write your story and share it. And at first I was embarrassed. I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me, because a lot of the reactions I had got from people I thought was friends when they heard what happened to me was foul. And it really sent me over the edge. I was suicidal. So in the hospital, I had nothing but time to think. And I said, with the way that night was, all those women getting raped, no one stepped forward and told about this same individual because it wasn't his first time. Mm-hmm. I was the first person to step up and tell. And so I was no longer going to hide it.
Yeah.
And so I just got the courage, and I had my computer with me, and I just wrote everything that happened, how it happened, and with no fear in me. And then I realized that I was able to publish it and copyright it and everything myself. And I just got more excited, and it just happened for me, And I didn't think about like how professional books are or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't care nothing about all that. I just wanted somebody to hear me.
Yeah.
And so I just went forward with it.
And it's really, like you said, you didn't care about like all the professional stuff, like the editor and all that stuff that goes into publishing a book. Your book is like real and raw. Like it's like I'm reading someone's personal journal. And I really enjoyed that because it didn't feel like I was reading a made up story. It felt like I was literally like experiencing what you experience. So yeah, did you ever like see yourself becoming an author, or was this just like a spur of the moment type of thing?
So since the 7th grade, I've been writing poetry, and I thought about writing a poetry book, but I put that to the back when this came about, and this just really made me want to go further. So I'm currently working on book number 2 to this, and then I'm gonna go into my poetry and whatever else it leads me to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to give my stories just like it is. I'm not very descriptive, adding extra stuff. Oh, the trees was blocked. No, I don't care about all that. Like, let's get to the story. What happened to me, dude? Like, that's how I am. So yeah, I've had a few people that had the same reaction as you. Like, that was some real uncut stuff, you know? And so they really enjoyed that. So, yeah.
Before any of that happened, you were kind of in and out of the hospital already dealing with health issues, and that kind of led to you living in your car at one point. How did that affect you and your family?
It was hard. My oldest daughter moved away to Atlanta. My youngest daughter I had to send with friends and so forth. So, you know, I was constantly in and out the hospital, in and out the hospital. And as a single mom, you know, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful for everybody. And it's weird that you say that because she almost became a victim of him. And that's how I became the victim.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but it happens. He couldn't get her, so he sought revenge and got me, and that's what he said.
Can you give us a little backstory on that?
Yeah, so the night that everything happened, I called my daughter because she had my car, and I said, you know, this guy just assaulted me, raped me at the cemetery, come to such and such spot where I was at. And she pulled up, and when she got out the car and saw who the guy was, she just started screaming like, no, 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 and she was finna run to the police, and, you know, she wanted to fight. And I'm like, get over here. Like, the police is, like, trying to get you. They will hurt you. And she was like, he tried to get me in his car when I was at the bus stop with my baby. And that kind of made me go off because after he did what he did to me, he was like, oh, yeah, I know your daughter. Like, it's a joke, but I had no clue what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I brushed it off. I'm not hearing what you're talking about until she came and said that. And then we was telling the police the incident that he tried to get my daughter, and they was like, she should have filed a report. So there was nothing they can do. Because had she filed a report and then he did what he did to me, he probably would have been doing more time than they gave him. So, yeah, it was devastating. But, I mean, it shouldn't have to happen to anyone, but I'm glad it was me and not my daughter.
Right.
So,
It shouldn't have been anyone.
and even the next day, he ran into one of my close friends at a store, and he was trying to get her in his car. Like, the next day after that.
And when did he end up in jail?
It took months. So this happened, I believe, November 2016, and I think he got locked up. I can't remember the exact month or so because I really tried to put it out of my mind, but it took a few months of going back and forth to court. So, and that was scary
Yeah.
because he was just out loose.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to drinking and driving and getting caught up with the law and losing a lot of stuff behind that because I had really lost my mind. Like, I really lost my mind. And I was riding around looking for people, like looking for him rather, gun in my lap, drinking and driving. I got in a lot of trouble. So I just felt like with him being free, how am I going to protect me and my kids? My first thought was take him out before he come for us.
Right.
And so I just thank God that I didn't see him anymore or whatever until the court days or whatever, and they really believed me.
Yeah.
So.
Which is rare in this case, which is so messed up because it's so hard to put people away for rape cases because there's no evidence. And like, I know you said you went and got, is it called a rape kit? That wasn't enough evidence for them to put them away.
And it kind of made me mad because, well, first of all, it made me mad because when they finally got him that night, I told them to look in the trunk and where he had, because he did some really foul stuff. But he had towels and stuff in his car and in his trunk that he had wiped off with. And so I was telling the police, like, to go look. Like, it's right there. He just wiped off with his towel. So there's some evidence.
Yeah.
But once they seen the pictures of the rape kit, because the lady was taking pictures, they was pissed. So that they kind of like, oh, let's get this going.
Yeah.
And so they got a little bit more serious with it.
Okay.
And then at the actual sentencing is where he broke down and confessed after going through all that.
So the day that this assault took place, you were bedridden with pneumonia, you said.
And I had just had a very severe surgery. So I wasn't even supposed to be walking nowhere.
You were sick. And you had nobody to take you to the store, you needed medicine.
Yeah.
And you said in your book that you beat yourself up for a long time for getting in the car with him. How did you kind of get over that blame, putting that blame on yourself?
I haven't. And it makes it harder for me. Even when I tried to date, we're not going in my house. We're going to a public place. I'll drive myself. You drive yourself. And a lot of people feel offended by that. Guys don't understand. Even if I shared my story, they're like, oh, you can't be seen with me. I can't know where you live. I can't. No.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. I don't beat myself up about it anymore because, things happen. Sometimes we know we might hear God's voice and sometimes we kind of override it like maybe I'm just paranoid. And it's like, me making that mistake brought me this far. So that's how I have to look at it.
Yeah.
It could have been worse. Yeah,
that's a good perspective to have because, like, regardless of what we go through, like, it always strengthens us.
Yes.
So, like, it really is, like, about switching your perspective or how you look at things because, yes, what happened to you was terrible, but look at where you are now. Like you said, like, you probably wouldn't be as strong as you are.
Exactly. And it kind of, like, was like, I told my kids, that was my biggest thing. I've always told my kids, don't get in the car with strangers, don't get in the car with strangers. And here I am, grown mom, did exactly what we're not supposed to do. So that was a hard part there too. So
there's a line from your book that says, I wanted to feel numb daily, sun up to sundown. I just wanted to sleep the rest of my life. So after the incident, you developed an alcohol addiction to cope with the pain. What did a day of addiction look like for you?
It was terrible. I would wake up, hungover, sick, throwing up, regret, but I'm going back to the store and get a bigger bottle. I just wanted to sleep my life away or sleep until I just woke up one day healed instead of having to go through the steps and, the trials and everything that I was going through, the breakdowns. I was angry. I was suicidal. I had guns. I tried to figure out how to use, because I really didn't know what I was doing, and that was a blessing. I couldn't remember what they taught me in training, how to do this gun like this, because I would wait till my kids go to sleep or go with their friends, and I would have it in my mouth. I would have it up to my head. I wanted to just literally just die. I've driven down to the lake downtown, the river downtown. I'm going to jump in the water because I don't know how to swim. So that would have been easy. But then I thought about all the fish in there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that.
The fish is what kept you?
Yeah. Them fish big, girl. So I'm like, okay, if I jump in here and one of these fish bite me and I survive, I'm going to look stupid.
So, I'm sorry, because that's really backwards to me. So you were afraid of the fish, but you weren't afraid of death.
So it wasn't until I got down there that my mind actually processed what I was doing. I was so drunk I didn't care until I got there, and I thought about it like, that's a lot of water, and this big fish in there, because I used to feed the fish. So I'm gonna go back home and think of something else.
Yeah.
So then I would say, okay, if I drive down there and I stay in the car and drive into the river, I should be okay. But then what if the fish get through the window? Like, it was so many scenarios when you're drunk like that, and I was drunk. Your mind is everywhere. You can think of so many different scenarios, and then you talk yourself out of it, and then you talk yourself into it, and constantly you're battling with stuff. And so that's what I was doing, battling between, do I want to die or do I not?
Yeah.
Are my kids set enough so they don't have to worry? I want to meet my grandbabies. I want to this. I want to see them grow up. Okay, go home, sleep it off. Sleep it off, go to the store again.
Yeah.
Try not to drink as much. Then I get teed off, and I'm crying, and I'm upset, and I can't sit still. I don't want to be in the house. I'm just driving. I was reckless. I was reckless.
Like hearing you say that you would get to the point where where you felt like you were going to end it, and then something would pull you back. That sounds like God to me.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what the excuse was, I really feel like that was God's hand on your life.
It was. It was. And I knew it because I have a close relationship with God myself. I always have as a little girl. But you know, when you're that hurt, you don't want to hear nothing from God. Don't talk to me right now. Like, I don't want to hear nothing. Just let me go, please. I was begging him, please take me in my sleep or something.
Yeah.
I don't want to see tomorrow.
Did you blame God? Like, were you in a position where you were like, why did this happen to me? Or were you more so blaming yourself?
No, I never blamed God. I blamed myself. I blamed myself all the way through it. All the way through it. Because he said it out loud. I heard it. Don't get in that car. It was like somebody was around, like you were talking to me.
Yeah.
That's how clear it was.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was very upset with myself.
So it wasn't just you that kind of had yourself in a chokehold. You said that your brother said that rape was like a strong accusation to make, right? How did that make you feel?
Oh, it hurt it. It hurt it. And I just started talking to him maybe a week or so ago. From 2016 to a week or two ago. Yeah. And I had some good friends that made comments I'm still not talking to. So that's not something you play with.
Yeah. That's I feel like that's very common in the Black community, where that kind of thing is just like brushed off. Or like, oh, that's a family member, so we're not going to talk about that. But regardless of who it is what it is. What happened is what happened. So I think it's important for people to really acknowledge, like, that's something painful that somebody went through, and regardless of what you believe about it, or if you were there to see it, which if you were there to see it, you would wish you weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I just wish that he would have, I used to say I wish he would have came and protected me, took up for me, even come to my court dates or something. He didn't budge. And as my big brother, I thought you would have my back. But you stayed away from me and, you know, didn't care.
that's hard. At what point did you post abuser's picture on Facebook? Was that after he was put away?
Yes, after he was sentenced. And I was talking to a few people about it. And they was like, oh, he just tried to get me. Or I remember one time he tried to get me. Or I know this lady he tried to get. I decided to air it out.
Yeah.
And I put the picture up there. And I got so many responses. It is ridiculous how many people have come across
The same person.
the same person, and even said that he would pay them off to not tell and so forth. And he tried that with me, but not directly to me. He ran into some people and had them looking for me so he can cash me out to not go to court. And they was like, nope, you need to be taken down.
Yeah.
Because the people he was talking to, I was like their little sister growing up with these people. And you thought you ran into the wrong people. So wasn't nobody supporting him but his wife. Wife. Whole wife, pretty. But this is what they do.
That's what they do.
This is what
Together?
they've been doing. I guess so.
Oh my gosh. You need Jesus. While you were still struggling with like your sobriety and everything, you said in your book that God used you in your mess. That was your words. Saying that he had you pray for a woman who had just gotten in a car accident. Can you tell us about that story and like just give some advice to someone who is in a broken state and feels like God is so far away?
So it was a Saturday, and I was with a group of women. We would choose to go to Rogers Plaza and walk and pray and walk and pray and just do like a sisterhood type thing. And we left there and stopped at McDonald's, and I had just came out. I heard a big boom or something, and I had just came out the restaurant, and this lady was sitting on the ground, and people were screaming and crying and so forth. And I don't know, it's just like God was like, while everybody's crying and she's freaking out, start to pray. And so I just started praying for her, and I was speaking in tongues, and it just went crazy. I had like just forgot everybody was around. And when I started praying, other women started praying, and other women started praying, other women started praying. And my partners, the ladies that I was with, they was running around looking for me to say, let's go pray for this lady. But I was already on top of it, like, let's go. And so the lady that was in the accident was crying that all her teeth, she had swallowed some, they was broke off and everything. And I was just giving her encouraging words and just praying for her and letting her know, like, you know, God is going to heal you. You got out of that car was a blessing. You know, you getting out of that car was a blessing because that car was totaled out.
Yeah.
And so to anybody that feels that God is so far away and you're in a dark place, just know that wherever you are, God will meet you there. He'll already be there, or he'll meet you where you are. And he still heals no matter what state you're in. Whether it's a dark spot, you're contemplating suicide, that's a sin, but he's going to take you out of that. You have to trust and believe. And you have to definitely stay up on his word. And in the Bible it says pray without ceasing. Because once you stop, here comes the enemy to play on that playground. Boom, 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 boom. So you definitely have to keep his word. You definitely have to keep his word and believe his word. You can say all day long, I read the Bible, but do you believe? That's the key word, believe.
It says we cannot please God without faith. Yeah. So where are you now on your journey? Like, this was what, 2016 that happened, and this is the year of 2023. What, like, we kind of walked down, like, your story, but we cut up some pieces. So, like, where are you at this moment in your journey of healing?
So right now, I am still in the healing process. For the longest, I kept saying, I'm healed, I feel better, I'm great. I redecorated my crib, like, with bright colors because I want to come out of that dark spot. Tried to get out here and there, whatever, but wearing a smile, taking selfies to make it look, but in my heart wasn't all the way healed. I can put on all the makeup in the world and comb my hair and I still feel like crap. But now that I know, like, these years went by quick. It still seems like it was yesterday sometime. But I don't have the nightmares. It took a lot of praying, counseling, self-love, again, praying, staying in my word, seeing what God has done for me. And it's really, I think my healing really started last year, January, when I started this job that I was telling you about. There's some people in there, my students, there's a lot of students that's been through or going through what I went through.
Wow.
And they just seem so sad and so forth. And I didn't know their stories. And I'll just say, hey, and give them encouraging words. Can I give you a hug? Or, so forth and so on. And they'll just let it out. And now they so close to me. They stick to me like glue every day. And when they don't see me, they like, we thought you left us. And I'm like, I can't leave. They have given me so much hope. And for them to be so young, just to see them walking around, it's like we needed each other. God put me where I needed to be instead of where I wanted to be. So it wasn't until I started working this job and getting to know these people's personalities and their whys and whos that it's like, that's why. Because I never knew what that building was. And I didn't apply for that job. I just put an application in and they called me. And so it was like, God was like, let me show you a whole multitude of people that's been through what you've been through and are still going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
So I see different faces and emotions every day. Wow. And it makes me feel good to share my story with them. Some of them have even read my book. And so it makes them know, like, wow, because they look at me like this big, strong person. She go protect us type, And I'm looking like, y'all don't really, we protect each other. It's a safe place where I'm at. Wow. So it's really amazing that I got the job that I got because I've done a whole 360 since I've been there.
God is really strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, you were probably thinking in your head, like, this is just a job or this is just to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm. And me putting in applications, it was pretty much it wasn't about the bills or nothing. It was like, this is going to be my first step on getting out the house. I needed to get from behind the walls.
Yeah.
The more I stay behind the walls, the demons want to play. So I'm like, I'm getting out of here. And they called me for that position. And it was just weird because I'm looking like, what is this place? And what's going on here? And what am I? And now I see.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to do with your story, with your book? Like, what is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is once I clear my record with the law, like I said, I messed myself up with a lot of stuff. I plan on traveling the world. I can see myself, and I dreamed of myself on this stage, huge stage, full of billions of people, and I'm telling my stories and all the, different steps it took for me to heal and just share. I want people to hear this is really what this world has come to.
Yeah.
So, and then, I would like to go to some of the, like I did speak at Job Corps before.
Okay.
And share it with the teenagers. And that went from supposed to be 45 minutes to like a couple hours. They wanted one-on-one time with me and everything. It was amazing. So I would like to go to a couple of
What is Job Corps? Like, what is it?
It's a program for like runaways and teens that are just like constantly in trouble or whatever. It's like a school.
Like an alternative school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have males on one side and the females on the other side. So, yeah, when I first got in there, they were looking like, why is she talking to us? And so I'm sitting there like, okay. And so I just went on with my story. God was like, speak. I spoke, and they was looking at me like, wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was amazing. So I would like to go to some different centers like that. And just share, speak.
Yeah, it's powerful. Like, just sharing your testimony. It can help you overcome and others overcome. Like, I know you were talking about in the previous episode, like your dream of cosmetology and like just all the other stuff that you could see yourself doing. It's not that those are lesser than, but this like I can like see it in you, like speaking about what you've been through. Like
Yeah.
I can see how much of an impact that can make, even greater than you doing hair. And there are some people where their calling literally is that, and they minister to people in the chair.
Yeah.
But I can see you like speaking to like groups of people about this, because like a lot of people don't speak on it, especially women. We're taught to just push it down.
And that's what a lot of my family was angry about, that I'm coming out with my story. Because, you know, growing up, we were always taught what goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. So a lot of people didn't know what happened to me. So, shh. And I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of family is still mad today. I don't care. It's too many secrets out here. And I'm gonna break that generational curse.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to go through it or my grandboys. So I'm speaking.
Yeah. So I have a little surprise for you. Let me pull it up. So I have some local business owners and creatives who are giving away some products or services to my guests. And I reached out to this photographer for you because I thought about like how you have your book and you're working on your second one, right? Do you have a title yet?
I'm kind of do. It's gonna be, I'm leaning towards kaleidoscopic journey, my kaleidoscopic journey.
Okay.
So
this photographer, he's a newer photographer. He sent me his little business intro, but he's offering you a free photo shoot. So you can choose like what you want to do, if you want to do one for your cover or if you just want one for like social media, or
what?
you can choose. So Open Eye Productions, that's the name of his business, is run by Clyde Sanders II. He is from Battle Creek, Michigan, but he moves to Grand Rapids area a little over a year ago. He started this business simply from the love of taking photos, and now is a 3 times published photographer. He's driven to help people see the beauty in the simple things, and he specializes in sports and portrait photography for the community of Grand Rapids and even in his hometown, Battle Creek. And his business is growing as the year continues, and you can connect with him and book with him on Instagram at open.i.productions.
Wow, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
So we'll set up a time and I'll connect you with him so that you can get that photo shoot done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of
thank
course.
you.
I want to see the pictures. I might come through.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. Like, I'm gonna need a photographer this time for my next book cover, because we really just did that with the iPhone and kept it moving. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah.
I'm excited.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you for having me. I almost copped out, but I did it.
You can't cop out on me 2 times because you left me. You left me the first time.
Well, I'm glad I did it. It's really the icebreaker for what my future holds. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And scene. Thank you again for watching The Larae Way. Make sure to follow us on all social media at The Larae Way, and we will see you next week.